At 6:25, we will call to order the Tourism and Marketing Committee meeting. The only item on the agenda is consideration of amending Section 7-302 within the municipal code about certain remarks describing the Tourism and Marketing Committee. Jordan?
Yes. So initially we had on there a state park rep seat. For a couple of reasons, I think it would be better if we opened that up to a natural landmark or point of interest person. That doesn't bar us from nominating a state park person in the future, but it does open us up to representatives from Cumberland Caverns, our many wonderful waterways and other natural assets that we have in the county that are equally as important to our tourism efforts here. So that would be my recommendation, is to change that to a point of interest or a natural landmark representative over a state park representative. Additionally, for consideration, adding the IDB director because of their hand in economic development in the county and city, I believe would be very important, as well as potentially the TWRA rep because of their hand in the waterways and what a wonderful partner they can be as far as expanding that out, and potentially an arts rep as well.
Can you elaborate on the last one?
I think that arts can be very important to a community as far as the murals, music, other forms of art as well. And having somebody that has those connections in the community and can connect us with local makers, potentially look at mural grants, or even someone potentially from the Park Theater, I think could be a really wonderful addition. That's something we can always discuss in the future though as well.
And then as far as the state park rep, which we're gonna change, is that seat still vacant? I don't recall.
It is vacant.
Okay.
As a former state park employee, I find it very difficult to ask a state
Sure.
park person to serve on this type of board because of the critical services they provide to their communities and the many hats that they wear in the parks as well. They also don't have a very tourism-oriented or tourism-positive oriented attitude because our parks are so loved to death right now. They're kind of more like, let's slow this down, not let's bring more people in.
I mean, I have no issues with any of those.
Do we need a motion to?
Yeah, we'll have to have a motion, and council, will this have to go to the full board to change all that? The language in how we set up this Tourism and Marketing Committee?
You should.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll be a recommendation to the full board.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have a motion.
I make a motion.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So yeah, we'll get to work on that and get that to the full board for consideration at our next meeting, and then we can go starting to look for people to sit in those seats.
Wonderful. Two additional things as long as I have the floor. Because our need to schedule a meeting is coming up very quickly, it does need to happen prior to the end of March. I would recommend that we schedule one for Monday, March 17th at 5 p.m. to get that in place and moving.
That's fine with me.
Works for me.
That's okay.
Wonderful. One last thing that I did want to mention. There was some confusion, I believe, with Jimmy Haley. It ended up, I'm not sure what the full article was in the paper, whether it said that he was nominated or confirmed, but he was completely unaware. He did show up at my office a little surprised. We were able to talk through that, and he has agreed to sit on the board.
Yeah, I called him and texted him and never heard back from him, so.
I guess he was just a little shocked. Someone mentioned to him that it had ended up in the paper, but he has agreed to sit on this
Okay.
committee, so.
I feel like maybe I dropped the ball there, so I'll own that one.
I mean, I reached out to him as well, and he never corresponded back, so I have no idea.
I don't think I ever even reached out to him, so my fault.
Maybe it was for the best. We got to spend some quality time together in my office, so.
Good.
All right, that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else to come before tourism and marketing, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
Yes. Everybody says you're gonna sit on that, just couldn't get out. Sit up close, you're supposed to sit up now. We sat up.
Okay, it is 6:35, and it's now time to call the Grounds and Building Committee meeting to order. Hi.
There you go.
The Grounds and Building Committee is now called to order. So, we are here on one order of business tonight to consider declaring the property located at 109 Magnus Drive as surplus property. Is there any discussion between the other committee members on this? I think that it's in our best interest, so.
I agree, so I would make a motion that we make it surplus property.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. One other thing I wanted to cover, it's not on the agenda, but I just wanted to get an update. We had discussed the Lion Street parking lot being paved a few months ago, but I know we were waiting on the weather to get better, so I didn't know if you had an update for us, Frank.
Yeah, I've got a bid from Tinsley to do that. It's $49,768.85.
And does that include filling the potholes and striping it?
Well, that's repaving it. They'll mill it down so far, then put new asphalt and stripe it.
Okay. It's,
But I think there's another option, which
Yeah,
is
I
just
mean-
patching the potholes and.
Yeah, that was my idea, is patching the potholes whenever the weather got better. Taking and cutting them out and probably concreting them back, digging down, seeing why they're actually sinking. Because there's actually something under it causing it to sink.
right.
And I think there's no water or sewer lines or nothing through it. So, I mean, I don't know where it was filled in some years ago or something like that, that is just, it is rotted or whatever and just decayed and started sinking in.
Right,
But
okay.
there's a pretty good size, probably this, as big as this in front of the podium,
Mm-hmm,
that is sinking in. There's
Yeah.
a couple spots. And, my idea was to dig it out, find out what it was actually down there
okay.
and maybe concrete it back.
And you
And
wanted,
we can stripe it. We've got like a parking lot striper.
do you wanna wait to do the paving after you do that, though?
Well, I mean, if we're wanting to pave it all, it needs to be,
Yeah.
it needs to be after or
Well-
before we pave it.
I'm for waiting and letting you dig down on the current
Yeah,
bad asphalt, figuring out what's there, filling that, and then letting Tinsley come back over your concrete. Is that
yeah.
your plan? Okay.
I mean, that or don't pave it. I mean, I don't know after getting these big deals, if y'all still want it paved. I mean, that's,
I think it's in our best interest to figure out what's under there,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's just gonna
yeah, it's
keep,
just gonna
getting worse.
continuously sink over the years.
yeah.
I mean, it might be 4 or 5 years before it starts sinking back, but it will eventually.
It could, I guess it could have been a building that was
Yeah.
buried underneath, or.
That's what I was wondering, if
Okay.
there's ever a building there.
Right.
I don't know who to ask to see.
We can dig and find out. So your guys can do that, though?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Is there a particular time that's better?
we just gotta get it, let the weather, I
Okay.
mean, we might possibly, if it stays like this, we might possibly start on it next week,
Okay.
just dig them spots out.
All right. Well, we'll just get an update next
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, I'll let y'all know and everything, but I did get a bid from Tinsley for that, so.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
All right, anything else for the building and grounds? Nope. All right, if nothing else, then we stand adjourned.
I stood up today, I'm like, somebody home tonight.
Do you have one of those things that pumps the cold water through? My mom had one of hers and she still uses it.
Time is now 6:45, and I'll call the Parks and Recreation Committee to order. Justin Scott, speak to us.
Good evening. So on February 11th, we received sealed bids to replace our 2008 carrier unit. That's a water source heat pump unit on the rooftop of the Milner. We received 2 bids. We received one from Matrix Mechanical LLC for the price of $83,698. And then we received a bid from Cokeville Heating and Cooling LLC for $75,800. Both of these units come with a 1-year warranty. And we did have this in our capital budget. We budgeted $80,000 capital budget for this. So we do have the money there. It is my recommendation after looking at the bids and reviewing those to move forward with Cookville Heating and Cooling LLC for the $75,800.
Anybody have any questions for Justin?
Are you good for the time period to get it?
I am. I did talk to Samantha potentially about the fact that if they've put 84 calendar days on there, but if we get into June and say there's a holdup with something, then we'll talk again. But outside of that, I think we're good. Coordinating them to bring in a crane and remove the old one and put the new one up, all that's worked out. Mark Kells took care of that, so we're in good shape there. So.
Was that when the whole geothermal system was put in 08?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was.
I'll make a motion, we recommend this to the full board.
Do we have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Any more business from Parks and Rec? Stand adjourned.
Thank you.
We hired someone back there. They still gotta-
It's 6:50. We'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We have 2 items on the agenda. Samantha, would you like to, you can talk from right there, I think. You're fine.
So our first one is a continuation of our last meeting, considering adding Coffee Bank to the utility bill payment option for the customers of the Water and Sewer Department. We currently have First National Bank, Security Federal, Homeland, and Citizens Tri-County. I spoke with Chase, and he said they already take some payments for other utilities in town. I think it'd be a good fit for, we've noticed a lot of water and sewer customers add ACH for their bank, so I think it would be a benefit to those customers that already bank there. That would include opening a checking account and authorizing the same 4 signatures, which would be the mayor, the vice mayor, myself, and Nolan on the signature card at that location.
Anyone have any questions? Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Have a motion to,
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
The second item is the charitable donations nonprofit appropriation policy. We currently don't have a set policy in place, but ahead of the budget season and a part of our strategic plan to develop and implement a comprehensive financial policy for the entire city, this would be one small section of that. What is in front of you right now is a combination of, I believe Spring Hill was the recommendation from MTAS, plus some amendments to that policy to fit more about what we currently or have been doing over the past few years. There's a corresponding application so that the users could easily start the application, and if they get to a certain point and they have to check no, it tells them to not continue, they're no longer eligible for funding. It's tied directly to our policy, a little more straightforward of a process, and sets up more of a framework as we head into the budget about what would be available. As written, it says no more than 3% of budgeted property tax revenue would be available. I also included a table there of what we allocated last year and the previous 4 years of that. That started at, it was higher than 7.56%, but this year as budgeted, we're budgeting 4.74% of property tax revenue would be dedicated to those appropriations. And then I've included a second table that says 3% of the average tax bill in the city would result in approximately $26.31 per tax bill dedicated to that. 4% would be $35.08, and 5% would be $43.85. Just for some different points of reference.
So, go ahead.
I'm not seeing that chart in
Yeah,
the packet.
that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. I'm not sure how to,
I can probably,
So,
Well, it was, you were just as an example,
Right.
to, if we, so this is recommending 3% of the total property tax revenue be appropriated to nonprofits.
correct.
And right now, we're doing about 4.5.
4.74 was what, after the amendment last year, that's what it shook out to be. It was closer to 3%, and then we went back and the first or second reading of our budget and amended those amounts. I believe some organizations received more, no, after the finance committee recommendations, what I'm saying. There was an amendment during the budgeting ordinance process.
That's interesting to know that 3% of, at that rate, 3% of the total property tax revenue is about 20, what'd you say?
$26.31.
Per household that we're spending on nonprofits of their money.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, wow. Never really heard it put that way. And if we, at 4.5, it's how much?
4% would be $35.08, and 5% would be $43.85.
Wow, that's good to know.
$39,
Yeah.
something like that.
Would you care to run through that list again of what we've done in the past?
Sure, in 2022, the percentage of property tax receivable that was appropriated to nonprofit or charities, and this does not include the TDB. I removed those figures out since that was essentially a transfer. So outside of the TDB, 7.56% of property taxes were dedicated in 2022. 2023 was 6.01%. 2024 was 5.27%, and our current budget year of 2025 is 4.74%. So there has been a trend down, and I do know that prior to 2022, it was higher than 8%. I didn't go far back because COVID kind of skews things around anyways, but
But they recommend 3%.
that was the recommendation based on the policy that we used to kind of draft this one. There is no standard recommendation from MTAS. There is a survey of different cities, but some pay out of different funds, and it's hard to compare apples to apples, so I thought it would be best to take what we've been doing in our budgets.
Can you get us a copy of what you've got there?
Absolutely. I'll pass this around right now as well, but
Yeah.
I can email that out for sure. Sorry that wasn't in the
What did
memo.
we add when we amended the budget?
Main Street? Was it
What did we
The Senior
make on-
Citizen Center,
Oh, was it?
their original request was lower, or the appropriation was lower, and then they came back to the board, and I believe there was another one. That may have been the only one. And this policy would open the application or the grant application on January the 1st of every year and close it on March, I believe March 31st is how we have it written. And that way they have those months to get that in, and then we just, at that deadline, we accept those applications and use those as we head into our budget meetings.
If you take away, I mean, if you take the maintenance effort to the library and the other things that we're closely tied to, that we almost, I mean, that we always do, you're not gonna have a lot left after, I mean, to get, if we keep it at 3%, if we take it to 3%, so it.
That does include the maintenance of efforts and the association or the UCDD and UCHRA dues,
And that's in the 3%,
That
right?
is.
Right.
the Chamber of Commerce dues, the library,
These were the two that we went,
the Warren County Senior Center, and the Families in Crisis.
no.
Main Street met Minville
Yeah.
and the Warren County Senior Center were the ones that were amended during the actual budget ordinance process. And this is something that would need to go to the full board to
Right.
adopt that policy. But just something to get out there and have something maybe in place soon. I have received one phone call already asking where the application is, so they're looking for it. I imagine the county has started that process as well.
Anyone have any comments or questions or thoughts?
Well, we need something in place for sure.
Yeah, and
We have for a while.
I mean, if we go to 3%, that's gonna be tough to do, but, I mean, I've said it a lot of times, I don't, you know, I think we're in the business of spending people's money on nonprofits, really.
Yeah.
That's just kinda the way I feel about
I
it,
know.
but it's still difficult. I mean, it's, cause there's a lot of, you know, a lot of good organizations out
Mhm.
there, so.
It is hard.
If we can recommend this, and then, you know, when it comes to full board, we can talk about it again and see
Absolutely.
what everybody thinks at that time.
Well, I'll make a motion to take it to the full board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else coming for the finance committee? Meeting's adjourned.
So this is the tourism development, that won't be in this next one, will it? So that'll automatically take
But I didn't include that figure in that 3%. since it's
Really?
just been a
So we did with
pass-through
the hospital.
Oh, I
year-over-year.
didn't know that.
It was
It is 7 o'clock. We'll call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the McMinnville City Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The first item on the agenda is roll call.
Steve Harvey,
Here.
Sally Brock,
Present.
Carrie Youngblood,
Here.
Rachel Kirby,
Here.
Deidre Dunlap,
Present.
Carrie Morton, here, Mayor Chastain.
Present. The next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. Each member of the board should have received those in their agenda packets. If there are no requests for additions, corrections, or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with their reading and approve them as read.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Carrie Morton,
Second.
second by Ms. Sally Brock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item 3 is recognition of visitors. If anyone wishes to address the board, please step to the podium and state your name for the record. Hearing none, item 4 is recognition of employees. We have several department heads here this evening. If anyone wishes to offer any recognition, come on up. Item 5 is communications. Item 5A is a request from Holly McBride from McMinnville Special Games to waive rental fees for the Milner Center for the 2025 McMinnville Special Games that is scheduled for May the 10th. Again, for the record, waiving these fees for nonprofits is something that we typically do. So I would entertain a motion to approve the letter from McMinnville Special Games.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Ms. Deidre Dunlap and a second by Ms. Carrie Youngblood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item 5B is a request from Cassell Davis from who's the Executive Director of the Child Advocacy Center, and they are requesting a fee waiver as well for the Angel Spring Gala that is on April the 12th.
Yes, we're asking for the donation of the gymnasium at the Milner Recreation Center for April 12th. We are a nonprofit. We look at this as our grants from you all. I was here for the discussion, so that's the only thing that we ask for the city. But it's April 12th and it's from 6 to about 10 p.m. In the gymnasium, and we are also requesting for the balcony above as well.
I make the motion that we approve for the CAC gala.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Ms. Kirby, a second by Ms. Morton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And item 5C is a request from Angela Murphy at the Community Outreach Center for the volunteer behavioral health care, and has asked that we illuminate the fountain for the month of May and it to be green in support and awareness of mental health. I don't have any issues with that, I guess.
Is it?
Do we?
I guess I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So we turn the fountain pink for breast cancer awareness. Do we do that for the whole month?
I don't remember. I thought
The whole
so,
month?
I kinda think so, yes.
Okay.
but we just have green bulbs and that's, oh, okay,
Yeah, we can change the color.
okay. I
I'm
mean,
surprised we did that for the entire month.
Why not?
I'll
make a motion.
That is true.
I'll make a motion to do that.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Brock,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Youngblood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item 6 is petitions. There are none. Item 7 is unfinished business. Item 7A is discussion about a contract from AEI Architects and Planners for preparing plans, specifications, and bid documents for the possible construction of a new police station. Nolan?
Yes, so we discussed this a few meetings back, and it took a little bit, but they finally got us the updated contract. The original contract was $100,000. In 2019, their new contract is proposed to be $125,000. So that seems reasonable to me. And if we choose to proceed with administrative portion of that building, it would be an extra $45,000. So the police department currently has $200,000 in their budget. I think they can use that for this. Is that correct?
We had 100,000 last year and this year, so there's a pot of $200,000 to be used for capital improvement.
So that would cover this expense. And the next step would be to have these workshops where we talk through the different options as we've discussed and kind of go from there.
What did you say was an extra 40,000?
45,000 if we decide that we wanna put city hall or administrative offices over there in addition to the police station.
Okay.
But we won't know that until we have these workshops. The request is to approve the contract as presented. And if we don't do that portion, they won't charge us for that.
So we're approving it for 125?
We're approving it as it's proposed,
Okay.
which includes both.
Okay.
And if we don't decide to do the administrative portion, they won't charge us for that.
Okay.
And we still have all the options of doing whatever
That's right.
route we decide to go.
I entertain a motion to approve this updated contract.
So moved.
I'll second that then.
I have a motion by Mr. Harvey, a second by Ms. Youngblood. Is there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Carrie Morton.
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 7B is review the results of value engineering proposals for the water treatment center with W&O as the contractor for the original base amount of $15,626,000 and approve Exhibit K, which is an addendum to the James C. Haley and Company agreement that provides an additional $175,000 for redesign.
Daniel, you want the floor? Okay. Because you can explain it better.
Sure. All right, so I will back up to October the 3rd, which was when we had our bid opening for the water treatment plant. Our project, as you guys know, has the ARP funding in it. Whenever we opened bids, W&O was the low bidder with a total base bid of $15,626,000. I got with Ricky, we talked about what our potential options were. One thing that we knew that we could do was go back to SRF and request additional funds, which we did. We went to them. The total amount of grant that you can get from SRF is $5 million, which you guys ended up getting that amount, or like 4.93 or something like that. So the total amount that we could get was the $5 million in grant. The other funding that we have from them is in the form of a loan, in addition to the $2.5 million that you have in the actual ARP funding. So we went with W&O. One of the letters that we had presented to you guys previously, before probably the November board meeting, was a letter from W&O that said that they believe they could get down into the $13 million range. Unfortunately, we had a meeting, it's been about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. We had a meeting here with W&O at 202 Bell Street, went over everything that they had found and determined. It did require us doing re-engineered drawings over the last 4 months and providing that information to W&O. They came to us and offered an overall reduction in cost, I'll get the numbers here, to $14,351,924, and that was the best that they told us that they could do, and it cut out some critical parts of the infrastructure that didn't really seem pertinent to cut out. It was not a substantive reduction in what you would get for taking those things away, as it would be just biting the bullet and paying the $15,626. Now, I did have a discussion that day with the owner of W&O, just basically kind of like a, I guess a, owner-to-owner discussion about, would you still honor the $15,626, even though it's been 4 months ago? And we do know that there are tariffs and things that are coming, and that was one of the things that he brought up about the reason they could only get down to the 14.3 now when they had projected to be closer to 13. And he told me that because he had already had this project anticipated on his books, that he had not taken out plans on other projects. And so he knew that it would be something that he's not gonna make as much profit as he would otherwise by going after other things, but he really wants to work here. He's worked here before, he's worked with Ricky before. They are a great contractor. And, you know, just based on the conversations that I've had with Ricky, I don't think that it would be a good thing to try to cut everything as much as we did and just go to bone with what we had. Because it kinda, I mean, it was a reduction in what you would actually be able to pump right now versus what you'd be able to pump in the future. Which is not a good thing. That facilities would be a lot better than what you have now, but the actual volume for what you get out of it would not be. And we looked at some other additional options that I spoke to Ricky about, like, you know, what if we broke it up into smaller chunks and tried to do like a phased approach? And the issue that you get with that, one, a phased approach, you know, you could try to argue that for the 2.5 million that you have coming from ARP, because it's gotta be spent by September of next year. But whenever you start looking at it, if I cut it, then we're turning a $15.6 million project into something more like a 19 whenever we phase it, whenever we try to go and phase it. So in talking to W&O, they knew that we could coordinate, and by this time next year, or by September of next year, we definitely know that we're gonna have all the funding spent. We've been in touch with the ARP program. The ARP program tells us that as long as we, in our current project as it is, if we can show that there's, you know, movement and that money is being spent and it's paid for, we can sort of break it up in this project and call it a phased approach without actually having to spend money on making it two separate phases with different contractors at different contract periods. So those are positive things that push me again toward the larger project as opposed to trying to break it up and do something smaller. In looking at it, something else that helps me to justify the 15.626 construction project is the fact that at the end of the day, and I guess I should be talking about it from the perspective of the total project, not just the construction, but also the engineering, inspection, everything that goes with it. The overall cost of the total project is 16.5 million, of which 7.5 million would be your grant funding. So $7.5 million in grant to be able to do something that otherwise you'd be taking out bonds for, or going to get the full amount with no principal forgiveness from another institution like SRF. To me, it just seems like a done deal that it should go this way. So, I mean, I'm open to whatever questions that you guys have about it.
So it's 7.5 million grant. Is that
Yes.
on top of the 5 and on top of the 2 point?
That's the
7.5 total.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Besides the, go ahead. You were-
No, go ahead.
Besides the amount of volume, so the bid they came back with, with a discounted rate was a little over $1 million less than what the original bid was. So what else besides the amount of volume that system will put out came out besides that, or is that all?
So really, it's the amount of volume, it's the floor space that you had in the building. So it cuts you from 5 dedicated filters down to 4 filters, and then that would have taken about 20 feet off the building, which would have cramped their laboratory spaces and some other items that had already been accounted for previously in the other design. So basically, he's gonna be able to pump less water and have less space to actually do work in.
Yeah. And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we did have a phone call last week with Samantha, Ricky, Nolan, and myself just to discuss the funding of the project and where we expected funds to go. And the anticipation is all the funds that are gonna be spent first are gonna be the SRF and ARP funds, and then on the back end, so toward the end of next year, you guys would start paying out the difference of that. And they check the balance of the water and sewer reserves, and as you can see there in the budget and financial impact, the last number there is what was currently in the budget, or in the reserves for water and sewer. So, you know, these are coffers that we've been building for projects like this. We just hope that they would come in lower. Fortunately, you've been building more than what we anticipate that you would build too, so it has offset a little, but there unfortunately are still, with the unprecedented amount of funding that's out there, the costs have gone up too.
Any further questions, discussions, comments?
Do we have any, like, rough idea of what that's gonna do to each individual account? I mean, like, how much of an increase will we have to have?
So the financial sufficiency study that was done by the state based on the budgets that we had, I am going to redo the budget and send to them, but the difference in the budgets that we had when we sent it to them and this budget now is only around $2 million. So they said that at the time that we submitted the last one, that there was no addition to it, and that was the after the, I forget, 3 to 5% increase that you guys had done previously, that there was no increase. So I don't anticipate that there's gonna be one. If anything comes up, I will tell you.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to move forward with this contract for the base bid.
I make the motion to move forward with it.
Motion by Ms. Morton,
Second.
second by Ms. Brock. Anything else? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Steve Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Any other unfinished business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 8, new business. Item 8A is consider a proposed downtown event policy.
Yeah, so this policy kind of came about as we have multiple events and we get applications throughout the year. It has become very problematic to track those, when they are going to occur. Are we gonna have any back-to-back closures like we did this last year with the homecoming parade and pep rally? We closed the road for a few hours and then opened it and then closed it back down again on the street fair. So this policy has a preclusion in that where we would not approve those back-to-back events. We would have a single application date and a single approval date for all the annual events that occur downtown. So that way we can get them scheduled out and get them advertised in a much more effective and efficient manner. So we don't keep getting applications throughout the year and then trying to track it through that way. This has been sent out to all the downtown businesses. I have not received any feedback or concerns on it. We've had discussions with all the applicants, Main Street, McMinnville, on the street fair, Chamber of Commerce and the others, and there has been no concerns with it. And they think would make the process much easier and more effective for them as well.
So going forward, we would not do any more of those back-to-back events?
So we're not doing any more of those back-to-back events to limit the impacts.
Yeah.
Nolan and I went to all the businesses downtown and got the feedback, which events are working, what can we change? And that was some of the concerns, was the back-to-back being problematic. So this would eliminate that aspect and still allow the events while limiting impacts to the stakeholders.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Getting closer later into this year, I was gonna make a recommendation that we talk to the school system and Main Street, and so you're gonna have to work something out,
Yeah.
because that's just not working out.
Yeah.
We're talking about the pep rally and the parade.
And yeah, the pep rally, the parade, and then closing again just hours after that for the setup for the autumn street fair. So,
And that puts additional staff time for Frank and them to get the roads closed, get them back open, get them closed again, and so it would just alleviate a lot of issues with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this will iron out a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that event policy as written.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
a second by Ms. Kirby. Any questions or discussion? All in, oh,
Have you notified the school system of any of this?
I
I mean,
will.
I think that was
I
a,
notified Main Street to let
is
them
that
know.
a
I'll
weird
notify the street.
one-time thing last year? That,
no, it
that's,
happened the year before too.
was it the
Yeah, we've
same?
had a couple
Yeah.
things
Oh, no.
back to back, so,
Yeah,
yep.
that's not cool.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, sir. Item 8B is budget discussion.
Okay, so, the most recent 2 budget cycles we've completed, we decided going into the budget, we would set some sort of a goal by way of fund balance or ending fund balance that the board would like to see whenever we bring these back through committee, and then eventually to finance and by ordinance to the full board. So tonight, I think Nolan and I are looking for an end goal. That has been 30% the most recent 2 years. There's no standard, there's no requirement, anything above 15% is a go. There's recommendations of a 3-month reserve. 30% has been working really well for us, and I would like to see something more formally adopted by way of a budget policy as we continue through these individual policies such as the nonprofit, and an updated debt service policy, things like that. So this would be more formally adopted year over year, but for this year, since we don't have a budget policy in place, we were looking for guidance for what the board would like to see on June 30 of 2026 as we head into the budget cycle.
What's your recommendation?
I like the 30%. It's working well. We had a big draw on our fund balance this year, more than we've had in the past, but we have those reserves there, and it's working. And that's 30% of total expenditures for the general fund.
How does that add up to the 3-month reserve? Is that gonna be about 30%? Oh, I guess it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And that's just to carry you through until your taxes start rolling in. We do receive the majority of our taxes in February. We do receive a lot in December, but the majority still holds out to this week. We have a lot coming in and paying this week. A lot of taxpayers are coming in.
What was our lowest fund balance this year before?
Oh, Steve. I have to
That's a
look.
hard question, I'm sorry. I put you on the spot.
It was more than a $2 million draw. I think it was $2.3 million swing from where we started. And usually it's around 1.8.
And that's the lowest it got. So we're still talking about, we never had below $6 million in the bank. So, I don't know, I get that, but I just almost feel like 30% is too high. If we're carrying over $7, $8 million every year, and our balance never drops below 6, it's just like we're keeping that money for no reason. I mean, I wanna have it, but I just almost feel like 30% is a little high, but that's just me.
As long as we have 15%, the comptroller's not gonna come knocking on our door asking for more information. There is no, some cities have over 100, as we've all discussed, and some hit the 15%. I mean, there's really no,
We had 8 million. Couldn't we start with 8 million the year before? Was that last year or year before?
last year.
Last
We're
year.
planning to end this year at 6.2. Is where we'll start the next year.
Which is less than 30.
It's right at,
6.2
is right at our current expenditures.
Can you draft something for us to look at for, I guess, maybe a finance meeting at the beginning of March?
Sure.
And have maybe some, and just throw some numbers out there, maybe like a 20%, a 25%, and a 30%, just for us to see what it looks like on paper.
Sure. 20, 25, 30 of what we were this year, and should be close to next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can just look at that and go from there.
The next recommendation we were looking for, is, I've printed out in front of you a graph, there's a pie chart, 2 pie charts in front of you. The blue side is what our current budget is for fiscal year 24-25, and that's if you take the general fund and divide it up into a pie, that's who gets what. And then the flip side of that, the green pie, is a 3-year actual average by department. You'll see they're very similar in their distributions. But as we head into that, last year, we started the budget cycle with our estimated proposed revenues, took that and divvied it up to the departments, and started there with our budgeting process, and we were able to bring to you a balanced operating budget a little more easily, or a little more straightforward than we had been able to in the past. And we would like some guidance there if this is working, if you would like to see something different before we start on those meetings within the next month or so. This does not have the capital projects included. This is your operating budgets for your funds, or for the departments within the general fund.
It's nice to hear that something is working.
What were you asking for again for this, or is this just informational?
I mean, informational, unless we want to change it from where we've been. If we would like to see a different
The percentages is
distribution.
what you're
Oh, I
talking
got you.
about.
Right.
If you wanna take some money from one department and give it to the other, I guess that's the question.
Well, I personally think Public Works needs more money, and that's my suggestion.
Yeah, and I think animal control needs more money.
I was actually gonna mention
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah.
I would like to bring up the possibility of maybe adding a grant writer, and I don't know where that would fall in this budget, but
We have one too, actually. Lyndon and then Jordan.
I'm assuming one is for tourism
She's for
specific.
tourism, and then Lyndon works with all the other departments for,
But he has like a dual job, right? I mean, he has a position in,
mhm.
I would like to consider a dedicated one, so I would like for that to be put, maybe someone to consider that in this budget space.
So one thing to consider would be if we talk about a stormwater utility, which I think we're gonna be hearing a presentation on in the coming weeks. That would open up money directly to fund a position for MS4 or stormwater management, and fund all the efforts and material that go towards that. That would free up then the grant writer to come out of the general fund. So the grant writer position would move from Parks and, Public Works over to the general fund. So there would be a little tiny bit of a reduction, I think it's less than 1%, that would leave Public Works and go to the general fund for that position. But I just wanted to bring that up, so it's kind of moving some pieces that could happen, separating those duties and making it more clean. So I guess to answer your question, that would increase the general government administration budget. Sam, did we say it was just maybe a little bit less than 1%?
It was a little north of 0.5% there,
Yeah.
that Public Works would come down and the administration budget would go up.
I do know that also, if I'm able to provide a suggestion, animal control could use some extra funding. I think we need to get them a facility that is able to provide shelter for the dogs that are there in the elements. And I don't think it's gonna cost an arm and a leg to So I think we should look at giving them a little bit more money.
Will we get a report from your department to sort of let us know how much you would need to adequately cover the animal control?
Yeah, once we get into doing the budgets, we'll have multiple meetings where, and she's awesome at putting everything for us to see, so.
So back to the grant writing question, have we found that we are currently in need of someone to fill that other than who we already have working on it?
No, it would be the current employee.
Okay, and it would just be.
He would be
only-
relieved of his MS4/stormwater duties,
Okay,
and we would hire a civil engineer to fill those duties, and he would proceed with the grant writing duties.
and only, that
That's
was his only job.
Yeah, he's been very
He's
successful.
doing a great job.
Oh, yeah,
He's doing
absolutely.
a great job.
And
I
then,
think that's
Didn't
kind of
lie
what I
on
was trying to ask, so currently he needs to only do grant writing?
That would be preferable, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's spread very thin.
Okay,
I think that within the committees, I think there are several opportunities for grants, that if we had the capacity for someone, we could utilize it.
great, thank you.
And obviously, we have a need to address stormwater, so.
Absolutely.
We think that this is gonna be a good way to kind of really address those two things head on.
Sure.
So I don't think we necessarily need a vote unless there's some ground shattering changes to make to these distributions. If not, I think that gives, Nolan some direction as we head into those departmental meetings that will turn into the committee meetings. And I'll bring a finance committee meeting up with those numbers for the next board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a fine starting point just to look at, and then once we get into the budget process, reviewing all the departmental budgets, we can see what's what and what needs to go where.
Thank you.
Anything else to come under new business for the board? Hearing none, item 9 is resolutions. Item 9A is resolution number 2025-06 to purchase extrication tools in the amount of $51,583 from NAFCO, authorizing the city administrator to issue the necessary purchase order on behalf of the city and to express the time when this resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sally Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Carrie Morton.
Yeah, I was just gonna reiterate, this was for 3 tools, 3 battery operated tools will be going on our new engine that's gonna arrive, be at Station 1. Right now, only ladder 2 covers the city for all the education needs. So this would reduce ladder 2's wear and tear driving all over the city and reduce response time. And they're very capable tools.
What's the ETA on the truck right now?
Right now, I actually got an update this week. The chassis is supposed to begin April 17th, delivery first week in June.
Oh, wow.
But that's always subject to change.
Sure.
So we're crossing our fingers.
Any questions for Marty? All right, any questions, discussion for the board? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Mayor Chastity.
Aye, motion passes. Item 9B is resolution number 2025-07 to purchase a Ford police utility vehicle in the amount of $44,876 from Ford of Murfreesboro, authorizing the city administrator to issue the necessary purchase order on behalf of the city and to express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Carrie Morton,
Second.
second by Ms. Sally Brock. So this is just a replacement for the wrecked vehicle?
Yes.
All right. And then insurance is paying for part of that?
Yes, I think that originally it was like 10 something, but I think they're coming up with more.
They're also gonna reimburse us for equipment to outfit the vehicle because we have to get new.
I got you.
Pretty good.
All right.
That's good.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Mayor Chesty.
Aye, motion passes. Item 10 is ordinances. There are none. Item 11 is departmental reports. If anyone has anything for the board, come on up.
Just want to let everybody know our Teen Police Academy is coming up. It'll be April 7th through the 11th, so I'm going to get that up on our website. And, send that to me.
Sorry, I forgot.
It's okay. I thought I'd remind you not. But anyway, we'll be taking applications and stuff for that, and they can apply online or up here at the office to go to it. It's always a fun thing that they enjoy doing. And not this past Saturday, the Saturday before, the police played the McMinnville Special Games basketball game against them. We sadly lost 70-2, but we really had a good time. It was really fun. So,
Thanks, Chief.
I'd like to hear a report from fire on the score of your game against the special games.
The police department did a little better than we did. We lost, I believe it was 81-6. They're tough.
I was about taken out.
Mr. Main, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Purtle? No. All right, if there's nothing else to come before the board, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all.